I didn't understand God and didn't understand how God was or how it worked. I just knew that I wanted to serve him, that I, you know, needed to serve him in a way, you know. And he just kind of became my reason for existing because I needed a reason to do that. And I hadn't really had one before. And so he became that reason. This is where I met all the people who changed my life, you know? And I wouldn't have met those people anywhere else, you know? Like, we used to joke and be like, you know, DC kids are handpicked and selected. Like, if you're here, God wanted you here.
Selena Birch.
This is one of the best moments of Selena Birch's life. She's graduating from the St. Louis Dream Center internship program. To understand how much this means to her, we have to go back to the beginning of Selena's relationship with God and the beginning of the first Dream Center and the vision to reach the lives of the inner city of Los Angeles, California.
I think God got me here under the idea of what I was going to do. And then when he got here, he said, I don't want you to build a church. I want you to build the people first, and then I will build the church. And the walls of the Dream Center and the thousands of people that attend the church are really a product of what's coming out of the halls of this building. People that have been kicking off drugs, holding their hands as they're detoxing and telling them that they can make it for one more day. And that's really how this church was born. It was born out of the heart of thinking I was going to build a traditional church, but God bringing me here and really allowing me to be exposed to the problems of the urban situations here in LA and building a church not out of my dream, but really building it out of the needs of the people.
In the early 90s, Matthew, along with his father Tommy Barnett, started the Dream Center. Today, the church reaches thousands of people every month through hundreds of community outreaches, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Hard work, but Pastor Matthew says watching lives change for Christ is worth any sacrifice.
You know, there's a young kid in our program named Jonathan Martinez who was one of our first graduates of our teen discipleship program. He came to church, and I mean, God got a hold of him in such a powerful way. I mean, the kid just, everything about him lit up. You know, when he first came in, he kind of had his head down. He was too cool to acknowledge. Now he's one of the happiest kids you've ever met in your life.
What kind of happened was with the friends I hung out with, we started hanging out, and we'd be bored all the time. There wasn't that many after-school programs in the neighborhood that I kind of grew up in. And so what kind of started to happen was we would run around together, man. We'd just do crazy things together. We'd go swimming at someone's house we didn't even know. We just, weird stuff like that. Little things that you'd almost kind of think were cute when you're literally like, oh, that's so cute, you know? And it was only about 6 or 7 of us. And as we got older, more people started joining, man. And we started, some of us would, you know, start slanging or you know, selling weed. And people would start doing different things to make money. And I started seeing they're making money. And I'm like, wow, I want to get into it. You know, I wonder how they do it, what they do. I started getting hooked on those things. So I started smoking weed. And then I started messing with opium. And then I started messing with shrooms and different drugs. And I started getting into that. And then, I mean, I didn't even notice it. At one point, it was just, we steal candy because we're hungry. And at the next point, it's like, wow, we could steal candy, sell it, and make money. And then I'm thinking, oh, wow, we could do this with drugs, and then we could make a lot more money. And so it's kind of a huge snowball effect on the way things work. And you never notice it. You never see it coming. It just kind of evolves into that. And you're like, whoa, what happened? When I first got here, I had brought some things with me that I shouldn't have had. So I had snuck some weed into my boxers. You know, I kind of snuck that in. And I waited a couple days, kind of got the feeling of how things were here. I smoked weed on one of the floors here. I actually rolled it in a Bible paper. So a lot of times I do a lot of things that were just wrong and they weren't right, so there was consequences for that. But what was really cool is they do it in a way with love. You know, they kind of do it in a loving way where they'd say, look, you were wrong for this, therefore this is the consequence, but you know, we still love you. I mean, I'd cuss them out and they'd still like love on me the next day, and I'd be like, what is wrong with this guy? And why are these guys so happy, one? Two, why are they always like here for me and so consistent in that? And then 3, half of these guys ain't even getting paid, more than half. And I'm like, and they're still here working with me. I'm like, there has to be something different about it. And so that really made me question God. And you know, oh, there must really be a God for people to be working for free with people like me, you know, who are just causing problems.
Jonathan gave his life to Christ, graduated from the Dream Center Teen Discipleship Program, and today leads the Adopt-A-Block program. Hundreds of volunteers travel to neighborhoods meeting needs, everything from sweeping up the streets to handing out food.
Every week we're at different sites, different parts of the city, and the beauty of it is that right there. You see that? It's beautiful when you're meeting people's needs, because people get excited about it, you know, and doing that, it gives us like an open door to build relationships with people, build relationships with families and stuff. So it's really, I think this is the funnest part of the week, is when you see it in action, you know, prayer in action.
Joyce Meyer Ministries partnered with the LA Dream Center early on and created the St. Louis Dream Center based on the LA Church.
I tell everyone, they say, well, who's your best ministry partner? Who's your best friend out there? Comes immediately. The Joyce Meyer Ministries has been the one that have literally allowed us to stand. We can't stand alone. We stand because of the power of God, but we also stand because of divine partnership.
Thousands of miles away, Selena is also working on her Adopt-A-Block route. This is her last weekend on this rotation. She's participating in the St. Louis Dream Center's Ministry Academy, where for several weeks the youth learn every aspect of meeting people's need.
They get up at 7 a.m. where they start prayer, and their day goes all the way until about 11 o'clock at night, with every kind of spiritual discipline, from prayer to working in a department in any ministry aspect, to going out and reaching the community, to mentoring one-on-one in their dorm rooms, to scripture memory. Because as much as we want to just impact the world, we want our youth to be able to impact the world. And they can relate to the students here, and they'll go back into their high schools and reach people that I will never be able to reach.
Selena began attending the Dream Center when she was in the 6th grade. Before that, she questioned whether or not God even existed.
When you're a kid, what you see is very important, you know? And I saw my mother, and she believed, but she, you know, her life wasn't so grand. And then you had my grandpa, who didn't believe, and he lives in a giant house, and, you know, so you're like, okay, who's got it right here? You know, who has it right?
The St. Louis Dream Center became the constant presence in her life to remind her of God's love and faithfulness.
Most people aren't really looking for some complicated theological answer to their problem. They're not even really interested in how much you know. They just want you to be there. They want to know that you were there yesterday and that you're going to be there tomorrow.
In California, the LA Dream Center homeless ministry teams are also on the streets, looking for individuals who need food and shelter, and of course, an opportunity to pray for salvation. Barry Germain says he wouldn't be alive today if he didn't have that opportunity.
I know what people are going through. There's no law, there's nobody there. You're free from everything, but you're a prisoner in your own mind. You know, I was that prisoner. I didn't know God, I didn't know anybody. You know, I just knew drugs.
Barry lived on the streets of LA for more than 15 years. Hooked on drugs, he didn't think there was any way out of the darkness. Then the Dream Center started showing up week after week, bringing food, blankets, and praying for people. 3 years ago, Barry finally gave his heart to Christ. Now he's taking courses to become a pastor to the homeless.
You don't have to supply them with their home, just supply them a way to the cross. Once you find your way to that cross, everything changes.
The most important dynamic of this church is the fact that we don't just minister to people's need, we minister to their potential. We got to minister to what people can possibly become. And that's why this place is called the Dream Center. All my staff were ex-gang members. One of my staff members, there's a video of him out on the internet where he used to have a bandana around his neck and a Crip bandana. He had a 12-gauge shotgun, talking about what he was going to do to the rival gang, getting gloriously saved in the housing projects. Biggest man you've ever seen in your life. He's studying to be a licensed minister.
I've been, doing the same thing. I've been a gang member for over 25 years, and I spent 17 of those years in prison. You know, I've been shot over 4 times and stabbed and, you know, been to prison numerous times and riots and stuff like that. But, you know, God had something else planned for my life. When I signed up, you know, to come into discipleship, I was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock and I didn't show up till like after midnight, but they still opened the doors and accepted me. You know, it was still somebody on hand to pray for me, and they didn't just pray for me and push me to the side. I feel like partly responsible, you know, for these kids coming up right now, you know, that's joining gangs, you know, because I kind of like, you know, set the standard a little bit, so to speak, you know, for these kids that's coming up now. So, you know, that's why it's just so important for me to, you know, be standing here right now, you know, renouncing the stuff that I did and going out doing what I can to try to, you know, make a difference to deter these kids away from that lifestyle.
The opportunities to come to the Dream Center and start over is presented to everyone. Some choose to stay where they are. But if the opportunity for change didn't exist, Barry could be on the streets, and Selena would have never found the support she needed during the toughest moments of her life.
The story with my dad is the everlasting story that I still have yet to figure out. The last time I was at his house, I was getting some food and my dad was in the room and I was like, hey Dad, Leslie's finna come pick me up and I'm finna go and so forth and so on. He was like, okay, you know, I'll see you, blah, 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 you know. And when I moved to my mom, like a couple of weeks went past, no hear from Dad, you know. And like I called them and like no answer, you know, and ring, 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 and no, you know. And I don't know, it's like he cut me off. It was really hurtful because like my dad, for as long as I can remember, like as far back, was like, you know, that one person who like I really felt loved by and trusted and, you know, and so like out of all people, like he was the last person I expected it from, you know? And so like, as a kid, I was just kind of like, what did I do, you know? And so, yeah.
Selena says oftentimes she felt isolated. She couldn't relate to anyone and believed no one could understand how she felt. Then she started attending youth programs at the Dream Center.
The Dream Center is like a sanctuary in the definition of the word sanctuary, you know? And I think that's why this church, because no other church could have been a sanctuary for me.
Selena began to believe in God's existence, and she gave her life to him. She found friends and happiness until her best friend died.
I felt so betrayed. Like I felt like God had something out for me, you know? Like he just wanted to hurt Selena. And I didn't understand. I tried not to at first, but afterwards I just purposely shut my family out. I just, you know, I went through once again that period of feeling alone, and so but this time I was convinced that I would be physically alone.
Pain and sorrow almost consumed Selena, but through the Dream Center, she reached out to God one more time. The ministry of being there is the overall goal of the St. Louis and LA Dream Center outreaches. Being available to help people like Barry begin a new life. Teach young adults like Jonathan that destiny doesn't have to be determined by surroundings. Offer men like Robert a way to build lives rather than destroy communities. And give teenagers like Selena a safe place to go when their lives are in turmoil.
When I first came here, I went to the roof of the hospital building and I said, God, is it really possible for a church to be open 24 hours a day? And the Lord spoke to my heart. He said, if the pimps can work 24 hours a day, the pushers can work 24 hours a day, if the peddlers can work to put kids in bondage 24 hours a day, I want you to build a church that will be open 24 hours a day.
Partnership creates opportunities for change throughout the inner cities of America. Joyce Meyer Ministries is dedicated to create and support programs designed to heal adults from a lifetime of pain and help youth receive the love of Christ at an early age.
Our mission is to hug a child, to talk to a child, do anything we can to just let them know how special they are to God.
Pastor Bob LaPlante oversees Kids Jam. Each weekend, they travel to neighborhoods throughout St. Louis with activities and ministry for the youth.
We not only want to help what's going on right now, but we also want to change a generation. And that's kind of what Kids Jam's motive is to change a child and also change a generation.
The Los Angeles Dream Center has a variety of programs for the youth. Through the years, they've found creative ways to minister to the kids' potential. Chelsea Van Dam is one of the youth turning her life around.
When I turned like 14, I started using weed, and then when I turned 15, I started using meth, and then I turned 16 and I started dealing meth and carrying guns with me and everything to protect myself. Then on my 17th birthday, I started smoking meth with my mom, and it kind of freaked me out in a way because that was like my birthday present. Growing up, I always thought like he wasn't there for me, like there's a God, but he's not for me, like, because if he was, then why would he put me in like my circumstances? Why would he give me the life that I had and stuff like that? And then I came here, and like he just showed me like that he has unconditional love for me, that he'll always be there for me, and he always was. Like he was just waiting for me to be ready for him.
Selena learned the same lesson at the St. Louis Dream Center. She didn't think she could overcome the death of her best friend, the one person she opened her heart to after her father left. For a while, she shut everyone out of her life, including God. But she learned it's difficult to stay around the Dream Center and ignore the Lord.
It was like I wanted to get to know that God who was like more than amazing, you know?
She joined the Dream Center's Ministry Academy, an internship program training youth to reach out to hurting people. During a prayer session, she was instructed not to pray for herself, but for someone else's need.
It caused me to put myself aside and my emotions aside, which I used to be like, you know. And then it caused me to give something of myself to someone else, even though I didn't want to.
For the first time in years, Selena cried and let go of the anger she had against God and allowed him to begin the healing process.
It felt as if like I had been ripped wide open, and everything I was kind of shed. Like it was like, you know how snakes shed the skin? It's like I felt like I had like just shed my old skin into something completely different. Like it was like a fresh feeling. God is a father, and through this internship, he has become a father, you know, who's not out to get me.
I believe a church really arrives when they're not known by the title of the church, when they're known as that church. Well, I really don't know much, but that church over there is the one that feeds us. I don't know much about their doctrine, but that church is the one that takes in runaway kids, or that church is the one that cares. And that's why you've got to show up and be there every single day. We want to outlast the liquor stores. We want to outlast the drug dealers. We want to stand longer and more consistent than anyone else in the neighborhood. And whoever stands the longest in these neighborhoods, so their message is going to win whoever stands the longest in the community.
We use any resource that we can to go find somebody that hasn't heard about Jesus Christ and help them, whether that's a sandwich, a new change of clothes, a shower.
They've encouraged me, they've taught me the gospel, they've taught me, you know, how to live a servant's life, to live with the right heart, with the right intentions to serve, that it's not about you, it's about others.
And it's just like a big, huge gathering of just, you know, all of these people that want to sit there and share and pour into others.
You know, for me, go back to some of the same neighborhoods where I used to fight, you know, the same neighborhoods I used to shoot up. Now I go to those neighborhoods knocking door to door, you know, praying with people, talking to the youngsters, you know, just inviting them to church. And if they don't want to come to church, just spending time with them, just being there, you know, just that opportunity.
There ain't no drug that can even compare to what Jesus is. There ain't even a drug on earth anywhere that compares to what Jesus can give you in your heart, in your feelings, in your body.
If you don't have a dream, if you don't have a vision or a desire, then inside you die. Because there's nothing driving you anymore. Like there's nothing to even, really want to live for, I just feel free to dream whatever I want to, no matter how big it is or how, off the chart it is.
Selena Birch.
That's why this day means so much to Selena and those who have come before her, and those to come. Every time someone graduates from the internship, it's another opportunity to help people the way they were helped. And with the support of partners, the ministry of being there isn't going away.